What is up, Pyromaniacs? Biostas is here. We're back in the world of EVE Online. And before we get into today's video, where we're going to be talking about, what do you call it? Corporations, how to find one, etc., etc. I wanted to touch a quick point on this. One of the... We mined in I don't even know when this video is going up because it's 3 days a week and I'm recording in advance, and I'm recording this on Wednesday, the May 29th. So whenever you see this, the previous video to this one, we did about an hour and 15 minutes worth of mining. We pulled in about, I think it was 26K M3 worth of materials, and there's no way I had the ability to move that reliably. 26,000 M3 is a substantial amount of resources. I mean, it's not a ton, honestly, as far as mining goes, but for a new player, it is a lot. And so I've been looking at a couple different corporations, and one of the corps I've been talking to told me about this ship here. Whoops, wrong button. This ship here is called the Miasmos. The Miasmos. Now, back in the day when I played EVE, there were not all these different ships. It was the Eteron Mark 1 through 5. They did keep the Eteron Mark 5, thank God, the giant floating penis mobile in its epic, massive, long, dicky gloriousness. But they changed all the other ones. And they also rebalanced all of the other, what do you call them, haulers as well. So Hoarder is actually the Minmatar variant. And if we come to its attributes, you can notice right here, it has an ammo hold. They can hold 41,000 M3. That is a epic shit ton of ammo. That is a ridiculous amount of bullets. So that being said, the Miasmos happens to have an ore hold, and look, it can hold 42,000 M3. That's a lot. I think an Orca can only hold like 250,000 M3. So this is a fairly substantial amount of ore. And the nice thing is, boom, all of the ore that we had fits in there perfectly. So that's going to give us the option to very easily get our ores to Jeddah with without having to make 4 or 5 trips. Granted, we were lucky; it's only 4 jumps away, but 4 jumps in an industrial ship is not exactly the easiest option to make. You know, you're jumping 4 jumps there, 4 jumps back. That's 8 jumps a trip. You know, and yes, it's not insanely long to jump, but I mean that's probably a good 45 minutes for this. And you know, you take on to that the 45 minutes it took us to get the ore in the first place, and now you're starting to get to the point where it's like, okay, I'm really impacting my ISK per hour here. So I spent a little bit of Skunk Master's ISK. I think it was 900, not ISK, skill points. I think it was 995 to get Galente Industrial 1. Definitely worth it. And now we can do this. So, all right, let's talk about today's video. So today's video is, how do you find a good corporation? Now there's a lot of different ways you can go about doing this. You know, you can have recruitment for your appropriate, excuse me, group of people. Jesus Christ. The English room, as you can see, is just full of spam. The problem is you end up with a lot of different corporations that make a lot of promises. They say a lot of stuff, and it doesn't really pan out well. You know, they're just, these are basically basically glorious spam bots. You're gonna be sitting there trying to find one that roughly, you know, coincides with what you want to do, and it's a nasty mess and it's a pain in the ass. So what I recommend doing, and let me get it pulled up real quick. I gotta change it up so it doesn't show. There we go. Because I don't want to show the corporations that I'm looking at yet because they haven't accepted me, and I don't want to do that. So, okay, let me get this loaded up. All right, so what I recommend doing is go to the EVE forums, look for the recruitment center forums, and it's going to bring you to the section right here. Now there are just thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of corporations here. I'm just going to give you some tips. Keep in mind, this isn't a foolproof way to find the best corp in the game. You know, only time, persistence, and, you know, positive attitude is going to get you there, you know. But these will be some things that will kind of help you along the way. First off, you need to decide what do you want to do? What is your primary activity? And what do I mean by primary activity before we go into that? Let's flip back over to Eve. Eve's kind of done a good job of that with this right here. Do you want to run agents and missions? Do you want to do encounters like PvP, whether it's faction warfare, or do you want to do abyssal dead space incursions? Do you want to do exploration? Do you want to do mining? Do you want to do the Traggle, whatever the hell their names are, stuff, which is basically just a different type of incursion. Think about that before you even start looking at a corp. Know what your primary activity is. For me, I already know my primary activity. I want to do asteroids, or I want to mine. And for me, specifically, I want to mine moon minerals. That's going to be the best bang for my buck in Empire, I believe, that I can get. So I've never done ice mining. I'm sure there is some stuff you can do with ice or anomalies. We did one of these yesterday, or not yesterday, but last time we did the video. These are nice, but they're not great. They're not great. So once you've got your primary activity, now what? All right, let me get that pull. Why isn't it not showing? Come on, there we go. All right, so once you have your primary activity, you want to come over here to the forums and you want to kind of browse. Now, they have a great option right here where you can basically drastically reduce the clutter. So for instance, for me, I'm wanting to do mining. I'm going to look at industrial. Perfect. Okay. So you start looking at some of these, and one of the easy ways to kind of tell to an extent is how many views these guys have. That's going to show you kind of how long some of these have been up, give you an idea which ones are new, which ones are old. And then there's nothing wrong with joining a new corp per se, but keep in mind, if you join new people, they may not be as set up, they may not be as organized, they may not have as big of a population, they may not have as many events, et cetera, et cetera. So, if you are kind of like me, you have very limited time, you want to come home, log in, and have something going that you can partake in, you're probably going to want an established corp and probably want something with a few more members. However, if you would rather be a part of a startup, build it yourself, kind of put your name on it, maybe get into a leadership role, the newer and smaller corps are going to probably be your thing. It all depends on you. All right, so and again, I do not want this to look like I'm blasting anybody. That's not what I'm trying to do here. I'm trying to just showcase you some of the stuff. So let's flip through here. Let's find a possible mining corporation. I'm not seeing anything about moons here. Market shenanigans. No, thank you. Nullsec. Well, private moon mining. Okay, so this is a nullsec corp. I personally don't care that much about nullsec because it's kind of a pain in the butt, but let's take a look at these guys. All right, so for miners, we offer 5 lucrative moons, an ice belt and system alone with enormous ore belts and T2 rigged refineries. No corp mining taxes. So basically, you're not going to have to give your money away. You're going to have 5 moons running. Now, that depends on their cycle, and they're going to have top-end refineries. So you're going to have a good percentage. You're going to need to keep a good percentage of your stuff. You can kind of look at some of the rest of the stuff that they offer, and then you need to look at their requirements. What are they wanting? Okay, well, they want you to be Omega 100%, so no alphas. I mean, that would automatically put me out. They want you to have 7.5 million SP. They want you to be in a monthly mining app for a corp. Now, that usually means you're going to be sitting there mining for them, not for you. If you have a problem with that, it's going to be a deal breaker. Ability in TeamSpeak, but not a requirement, and full ESI registration for security checks. I believe ESI means giving them... Eve has an API that shows a lot of information about your character, your market transactions, what corps you've been in, how many characters are on your account. There's a lot of information there. They can't use it to take over your account, but they can find a lot of information about you. Keep that in mind. So, okay, these guys they sound interesting. Let's look them up. Let's see what we've got. So let's go back to game real quick. Get my window back open. All right, let's get the chat window open. Let's go local. So these guys are in 0-0. So what are some of the issues that we might run into in 0-0? We're going to do auto link character. There we go. Pair of pants. There it goes. Remnants of war. All right. So some of the issues that we might run into in 0-0, you could get camped. You might not be able to do anything if there's bad guys in the system. If you guys are attacked, et cetera, it may not work. You want somebody that's got a decent population and that has been around for a while. So let's look at their member count. Well, they've got 174 pilots. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean they're all active, but that's a fairly good determinant of, how many people there are. So in a situation like this, if you're wanting to do 0-0, more is better in most cases. So with 174 people, that gives you a good feeling. If we had read this introduction and they had 10 people, then that would be something to be concerned about, because they're just starting up, or they just they're basically renting or at their alliance's mercy. They don't have much power projection themselves. If you're going to be in 0-0, you want power projection. Now, granted, 174 members is not going to be able to stand up to, a Titan or things along those lines. Most 0-0 corps don't have to by themselves. That's what the alliances are for. You've got somebody that you can call that can help you. You can do research on their CEO. How long have they been in the corp? Well, the CEO's only been here for 3 months and 9 days. So that means it's probably a fairly new corporation. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean she's the one that started it. It could have been started by somebody else. You'd have to dig deeper into the corporation to kind of see that. Some of the other stuff you might want to look up is you could check out their website. You could check out their Z kill board, see if they've been getting their shit kicked in. If they're getting their shit kicked in, then you may not want to join the losing side. If they have a positive kill to death ratio, then you're probably pretty safe. Those are just some things to look for. One of the other things I wanted to put out, let's go back out to the main screen. 1 sec. Let's sit back over here. Let's say you're looking for a mining corporation specifically in Highsec. So let's see. Let's see if we can find anybody that's doing Moon. Okay, so we got Moon Goo here. What else do we got? Meteor Industrial Corp looking for industrial pilots, explorers, and leaders. We've already done the private moon mining. Okay, contract theory, Highsec, moon mining, and industry. Okay, so let's take a look at these guys here. And again, I'm not throwing anybody under the bus. We're just taking a look. So, contract theory is looking for new and old miners, industrialists, and explorers to join us to help us grow. Blah blah blah. Refinery and engineering complex access. So that means they've got the stations. If somebody says they have moon mining and they do not have a refinery, that's something to worry about. So, for instance, let's look up Voss real quick in game. Get rid of Mr. Parapants. Press enter. There we go. Highlight, auto link, and character. All right, so let's pull up Mr. Voss. Okay, so first off, let's look at contract theory. Contract theory as 25 members. Okay, that's not bad. But one of the big things right here is they're not war eligible. Now, this isn't a deal breaker, so to speak. So you can see right here, they're not war eligible. Well, their post says that they do moon mining. That doesn't make sense. The way war eligibility works now, and again, this is different from back in the day when I played, if you own a structure and or a space station, things along those lines, you are war eligible. If you do not, you are not. So it gives basically Empire Care Bears a way to hide, so to speak. Well, these guys are claiming that they have moon mineral capabilities, but they don't have any structures. That's a red flag. Now, again, a lot of these not newbie corps, but corps like this are going to have a holding corp that holds all of their stuff. That way, they have a little bit more options if they get war decked. So this way, the main corp can't get war decked. Their assets are a little bit more protected. And if the corp pisses people off, it's not going to be easy, at least for an outsider, to figure out who's holding their assets. With a little bit of research, you can still figure it out. You can still war deck. You can still hurt them. So keep that in mind. These guys don't have a structure, so you want to make sure that they're not bullshitting you. Make sure that they have these structures before you join, because if they offer moon mining, they don't have any structures, they don't have a holding corp with structures, they're lying. They're working on moon mining. They don't have it yet. They have 25 members. That's not a lot of people. That's a fairly small corp and or new corp. If we go and look at their leader, You can see that he's been a part of it for a month. So again, this one's a fairly young corp. This is even younger than the other corp we were looking at. So what are some of the other things that we would want to ask these guys if we were looking at their corp? Well, find out about their daily mining fleets. They say they have daily mining fleets with boosts. Is that legit? A lot of places will promise you the world, and then it turns out, oh yeah, we run a mining corporation or event about every 4 months for like 10 minutes, and it really just, there's an orca that kind of logs on and floats in space, and then he goes. That may not be what you're looking for. So make sure that you find out about the activity. And don't feel afraid to ask questions. If they want to answer your questions and if they're dicks about it, you don't want to be part of their corp anyway. This is an interviewing process for you to interview them and for them to interview you. And look at their process. How do they go about, handling the recruiting process? Are they dicks? Are they overly paranoid? Do they let everybody in? Is there no checks at all? All of that can kind of contribute to the overall positive and negative of the corp. So those are some of the main tips there. These little tags that they have the option of, they really make it very easy for you to kind of search for very specific stuff. If you want to do wormholes, you're gonna be able to find those very easy. If you want to do abyssal shards, bam, you've got all of the corps that have got those. I think they even have faction warfare. Yes, right there, faction war. Boom, all the faction war corps. Makes it very easy for you to find corps that at least claim to be doing what you're doing. Just be very careful about corporations that take in new players and then offer stuff like that. Oh, that's one of the other things I forgot to mention. And this one's a big one. Look at the tax rate, especially if you are planning on... Oh yeah, let's look at Vsauce again. Or actually Vsauce, that's a YouTube channel. Look at the tax rate. So these guys have a 0% tax rate. They're not going to be there to castrate your earnings. This tax rate can be really high. I've seen corporations that will take newbie players. They have an 85, 95, 100% tax rate. Definitely keep an eye on that, because once you join these, you can be stuck in them, I think, for 24 hours depending. So you want to make sure that you're joining a good corporation that does the activities that you do, and ask them, hey, how often do you do these things? What's your setup? How do you handle this? Blah, blah, blah. Get some details. That's going to make your gaming experience a lot more fun, because if you can find people that are doing daily the type of stuff that you want to do, it is going to drastically make your experience better in EVE. Because EVE is a great game. It has a lot of potential, a lot of options, a lot of opportunities. But as a new player, you're not going to know half the shit you can do. And then the shit that you might know you can do, you're not going to know how to do it, what you need to do it, how to do it well, how to optimize it, how to streamline it, et cetera, et cetera. That's what corporations are for. Not only that, but shooting things is a lot of fun. Shooting things with friends is a hell of a lot better. Everything is good with more people. Humans are naturally social. I strongly encourage you to get out there and do this. This is one of the big things that I never did in EVE. I always chose to go solo or in my own corporation, and I had some fun, but it was always a hell of a lot rockier than if you just joined somebody else. And I'm not saying don't start your own corp. I'm just saying if you're brand new to the game, join somebody else's. Just experience it. The nice thing about joining somebody else's corps is you can focus on playing the game, let them handle the paperwork, and see how they do things well, see how they fuck things up. And then when you decide to make your own corp, you can make it better, you can fix the problems that they had, et cetera, et cetera. So strongly recommend you do that. One final thing that you're going to check is probably the war history. See if they've got a lot of bad wars. Check their alliance history. If they're bouncing alliances frequently, that can be a problem. Check their kill boards, and keep in mind, you don't personally want to be jumping ship very often because you do have an employment history, and this never goes away. So if you join a new corp every single week, it is going to show up. And then over time, people are gonna be like, dude, why are you jumping corp? It's just like, EVE's one of the few games where you got a resume, and people do research, especially the bigger 0-0 corporations and things like that, those lines. Some of the better corporations get a lot more strict on who they'll take. Be careful with who you join. Now, that's not to say if you join a bad corp, don't feel like you got to stay. Just be very careful not to join 5 or 6 bad corps in a month and then, you know, blah, blah, blah. It's a good way to give yourself some problems later down the road. So if you follow my steps and you kind of look into what you're joining before you join, and again, I honestly would just stay out of the recruitment channel. There's so much spam here. There's so much bullshit here. This is almost like, it's almost like Jetta scams here. I'm not saying that there aren't good people here, but on average, there's 500 people in this thing with timed posters, and they're not even paying attention. And it's just not a good. It is not a good place to find the actual information that you need. So let me know what you guys think about this video. Feel free to throw all your comments and questions in the comment section. I always read all of my comments. I don't always reply, but you know, I do my best to reply and answer any serious questions that are out there. You know, if you want to help this series grow and get out there, the best way to do that from YouTube's perspective is like the video, leave a comment, and then share it. Sharing the video makes YouTube go nuts. They love that. That's like, oh my God, this is a good video. He was willing to actually tell somebody he watched this shit. He admitted it publicly. That really helps. As always, there's a little join button next to the video. If you click that join button, you get to become part of the YouTube corporation, where you throw me a little bit of money every month. That helps me, you know, spend more time in the chair, buy games, buy plexes, buy things like that to help support this series. And, you know, you might get to buy me a cheeseburger every once in a while. So if that's something you like to do, that's an option there. Keep in mind, all my content is free. Never have to pay for anything if you don't want to, but that option is there if you feel the need. That being said, guys, that's going to do it for this video. Thank you so much for watching. Hopefully you guys are enjoying this series. If you are, slap that like button. Don't forget to subscribe, and I'll catch you guys in the next clip.